Hello and welcome to Global Azure Austria 2023. My name is Rainer Stropek and I'm a member of the organization team of the Global Azure Austria. This year will be another virtual conference, but this year we have a very special treat for you. We have created a virtual conference environment here in GatherTown. And in this short welcome to the conference, I would like to take you on a tour through our GatherTown environment and give you a few tips how you can make the most of your day here at the Global Azure. So let's take a look at the map here. Once you finished the tutorial where you learned some basics about how to navigate through GatherTown, you will reach here the main reception desk, the main gathering area, where you can find often members of the organization team. So if you have any problems, just walk up to us and we can have a chat. We will do our very best to help you overcome any problems or solve any questions that you maybe have. Now, a quick tip here, or two quick tips. You can use the mouse wheel in order to zoom out to get a more overview about the entire landscape. I record this video today when tomorrow is the event, so currently it's a little bit quieter. Tomorrow it will probably be more busy here. And if you use the mouse wheel again, you can zoom in and you see more details. Depending on what you want to do, if you want to navigate around, you maybe zoom out. If you want to see some details, if you chat with a colleague or friend, you might zoom in. Now, there might also be times where you do not want to be disturbed. Please note that you can always click here in the personal menu, and here you can set your status to available, busy, do not disturb. And of course, you can also decide whether you would like to open up or share your video and or your audio. Now, when it's time to listen to the sessions, to attend the session, you can walk up here and follow these guides here, these lines here. They will lead you to the stage room that you are looking for. Please check our website globalazure.at/schedule in order to learn about when which sessions are going to happen. The sessions are assigned to stages. Now, let's assume you would like to visit the stage 3. Let's walk up here. I said stage 3. Stage 3 is here on the right-hand side. Let's just walk up here and enter the stage room. Now, when you are in this room and when it's time that the session starts, a video icon will pop up here at the bottom of the screen, and you can either click on it or press X in order to watch the session. Now you have multiple possibilities how and where you can watch the session. You can walk to a table on the left-hand side and watch the session together with some friends or colleagues or like-minded people that you have met here at the Global Azure event. If you would like to listen to the session alone without chatting with other people so you can really focus on what is currently said, nobody will disturb you when you sit on the silent table on the right-hand side. When the session is over, we invite you that you walk up here to the Q&A area. Every session room has a Q&A area here on the top. Our speakers agreed that they will join the Q&A area, so you can have a chat with them, you can ask them questions, you can go into more details on the topics that they covered. This is what Q&A is all about. Please note that some of the speakers are also employees of our sponsors, and they might announce that they are going to do the Q&A process on the booths of the sponsors. Speaking of sponsors, let's visit them. Let's visit the sponsor booths. The sponsor booths can be found spread around in the whole conference area. Here you see the main sponsor booth, the sponsor booth of our main sponsor, Microsoft. And as you can see, they have some private areas here. You can walk into them and have a chat with employees from Microsoft or other Microsoft customers and like-minded people. On the right hand side, if I walk up here, you see our gold sponsors. You see the gold sponsor Cubido, and if I walk to the right, further to the right, I see the gold sponsor Dynatrace. So our sponsors will probably have every now and then throughout the day have people available on their booths. So take the time, walk up to them. They are very much looking forward to talk to you, to chat with you. Now, if you would like to meet with colleagues or friends or customers or just people who just met, you can always visit the networking area. Here, you can just walk up to people and have a chat, or you can enter one of our private areas, which you see here on the right-hand side, and you can take a seat on the couches, and everybody who is in such a private area can hear you and talk to you. That's perfect to have a quick break or to meet some friends that you have not seen for a longer time. Now, here is something special. Do you see this treasure chest here? We have a scavenger hunt in Global Azure Austria 2023 where you can win valuable prizes. Now, whenever you see such treasure chest, you can walk up to the treasure chest and press the X key. If you press the X key, you will see a message popping up in the chat window, and your goal is to gather all the treasure chests. If you have all the treasure chests and you gave your permission to join the raffle, you will be part of the raffle, and as I said, you can win valuable prizes. If you didn't agree to participate in the treasure chest hunt, you can always change your mind by walking up to the treasure hunt bot that you can see here. Just press the X key and you can enter your data throughout the day. Now let's walk to the left-hand side of our area where we can find some additional sponsors. I want to take the opportunity to say thank you very much to all the sponsors, our main sponsor, our gold sponsors, our silver sponsors, our bronze sponsors. Without these sponsors, it wouldn't be possible to set up an event like Global Azure. So thank you to Cosmo Consult, thank you to Sprecher Automation, and also thank you very much to our bronze sponsors, which are mentioned here on this screen here. Another, by the way, do you see our animals here? You have a cat, and you have a dog, and you have a panda, and you have llamas spread around the conference venue. So just walk up to them, press the X key, and see what's going to happen. We hope you will have a lot of fun staying a little bit, spending some time here in the Gather Town environment. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, no, it's not pretty much it. Know that you can always press the F key in order to throw confetti. Or if you would like to, if you are in the mood for a dance, just press the Y key multiple times and your figure is going, your character is going to dance. Maybe you love what our speakers are telling you and you would like to party with them. Then you can always have a dance, throw some confetti or show them some emoji love here. So just play a little bit. This is a playful environment, and this is exactly what we want to have here, a little bit of fun at the Global Azure Austria event. So let's walk back here to our main reception desk. And yeah, to close, let me say thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the organizers. Thank you to our sponsors, and definitely last but not least, thank you to all of you. Thank you for being part of Global Azure 2023. So, I think without any further ado, we can kick off the event. I would like to say thank you to Microsoft, and welcome to Microsoft for our keynote of the Global Azure 2023. Have a great day here at Global Azure.
Good morning and welcome to Global Asia 2023. And thank you all for having me today on stage and talk a little bit about our cloud of Microsoft, the Azure infrastructure, and how that is going to come to Austria. Let me start with a little video.
People come to the office for each other, not policy.
We believe that modern technology is the key enabler to make our highly qualified employees perform even better.
Less time, less cost, less complexity, with more innovation, more agility, and more resilience.
We're estimating an individual would take 11 years to do what OpenAI service has done in days.
We want our tax professionals to be able to spend more time providing a consultative approach, less time doing data entry.
When we say the trusted computing platform for all organizations and all platforms, we mean it.
The way we nourish the world, the people and the planet, is by working together.
There's just no room for security breaches. The stakes are just too high for too many people.
So again, good morning, and over the next 30 minutes, we will have a little walk through the Microsoft Cloud for our infrastructure, and I hope to bring you a little bit closer how we operate our cloud and what is behind and what will then come to Austria as well. When we talk about the Microsoft Cloud, now here it is. When we talk about the Microsoft Cloud, we are talking about the biggest connected IT infrastructure in the world. With over 220 data centers, continuously expanding more than 200,000 kilometers of high-speed internet cable, all belonging to us, all owned by Microsoft to avoid any disruption in this high-density worldwide connection and network, making up over more than 60 different cloud regions. This is an infrastructure that you can utilize all over the world, that is accessible from all over the world, and that is an infrastructure here to provide you with the services that you need to build your applications, to host your applications, to connect to your customers and to your suppliers, and to support your business all over the world. But even more, over edge zones, points of presence, we are extending the reach to almost every corner in the world. And did I say the world or the planet? Even more, we are now going even further into space with satellites connecting our data centers, both to reach the very distant parts in the world, but also to be available as a backup connection to keep the data flowing even in cases when there are disruptions on the network cable. And unfortunately, history and latest developments has shown that even that is something that cannot be excluded from reality, unfortunately. Now, talking about the Microsoft Cloud, just a few facts. It's an infrastructure that is currently executing more than 900 trillion transactions every month. We are currently, and by the way, these numbers are already a few months old, but by that time we were managing 13 million SQL databases, and we're analyzing more than 1.3 quadrillion security signals every month. If you're not aware what a quadrillion is, at least I wasn't when I first saw that number, that's a 1 with 15 zeros. When you operate such a large infrastructure, we first started and we had big infrastructures in selected areas in the world. And you might know that our biggest footprints in Europe, for example, are in Amsterdam and in Dublin. But since a couple of years, we changed, not really changed, but expanded the approach to go more decentral, to come closer to our customers and to extend our network to many more regions throughout the continent and throughout the world. And alone in the last 2 years, we have announced more than 20 regions. We will launch in the next few years more than 16 regions alone on the European continent. And we will have availability zones available and accessible for each country. So Microsoft is building data centers. Microsoft is building our cloud since many years. And actually, we are doing this since more than 30 years now. And that's something that you might not be aware of, that we started very traditionally. And very soon we realized that when you operate such a cloud infrastructure, when you operate more than 200 data centers in the world, you need to have standards. So that's why we started very soon in standardizing our design for data centers. So we started, as I said, about 30 years ago with pretty traditional form factors. Data centers, you might know, you might have already been in, you might already operate in your company. Not very fancy, not very modern in those days, pretty much standard as everyone did. However, as I said, realizing that standardization is something that you need to have when you operate such a large infrastructure, we started to develop our own form factors. We started to optimize data centers, both in terms of capability, in terms of capacity, and in terms of energy consumption. So you might have at one point of time heard about our modular data centers, our container data centers, that generation 4, that consisted only about containers. You know, we had containers with 2 plugs, 1 plug for data, 1 plug for energy, and pretty much that's it. So it was almost like building data centers with Lego. Later on, when the form factors, when the data center designs got even bigger and bigger over time, these modules weren't so much appropriate anymore. So we came back to a more traditional building layout, to a traditional building form factor, but more innovation to have it inside the data center. And today we are operating our most modern generations, generation 7, what we call the Ballard generation, which are the huge size data center standards. So if you look at the picture over here, one of those data center colos, as we call our buildings, and our data center locations typically consist of more than than just one building. So we have data center sites where we have 5, 6, 7, 8 of such buildings, and each of that building able to carry 2 big 747 Boeing aircraft, so the size of 2 aircraft hangars, each close to each other. We have other form factors, like for example, generation 8, that is more optimized to go fast into markets. That's why we call that design, that standard, rapid deployment design. And by the way, this is also the standard that we will first use when we are entering the Austrian market, later on building with other form factors. But that's how we typically enter a region. And you have seen probably some reports or articles about how we continue our research, how we continue design for newer form factors, like for example, the underwater data centers, where we experimented and tried with completely closed data centers and put them under the water. And this was very successful. It is already now in phase 2, where we are combining several of those tubes and run a second test phase. And probably very soon, this will be into productive operation very soon. So to make that clear, currently this design is not in production. Before I said the design and the innovation is not only how you build such a data center, how the building looks like, but even more innovation is inside a data center. So now let's have a look inside such a data center. And one big topic is energy. You know all these discussions about how much energy the cloud is using, how much energy AI is using. That's why we are continuously innovating in terms of efficiency and in terms of how to make those data centers most efficient as possible. And today we are at a standard where we are able to direct more than 90% of all the energy that we use in a facility directly to the IT equipment. So all energy, 90% of the energy is going to our servers, to our hard drives, and less than 10% of the remaining energy we only need for cooling, for security devices, for security technology, for lights, for example. So this is all what we perceive as overhead in a data center, only 10%. To give you a comparison, the current worldwide standard of all data centers, including traditional data centers, including server rooms, is about using more than 50 to 60% of the energy that goes into a location for not IT hardware. So huge efficiencies, huge efficient data centers. And how can we achieve that? One big development and one big factor for making such data centers so efficient is the concept of what we call the hot data center. You might remember times when data centers have been cooled down to 15, 16 degrees Celsius, where you always had to wear winter jackets when you do something in the data center. Now, these times are completely gone at Microsoft. Today, we operate our data centers at about 25 degrees Celsius, sometimes 26. And when the summer gets hot, when it's really, we have heat waves, as we had, for instance, last summer, it can even get a bit hotter inside the data center. So this we can achieve because we design our hardware on our own. So we are not building our hardware. We have partners that build that hardware for us, but always based on our designs and the concepts that we implement in the server technology, in the network technology, and so on. And this is for two reasons. One reason is, as I said, for efficiency. So we are able to operate our servers on a very, very high degree standard. That's what makes the data centers possible to be cooled at such high temperatures. And the second reason, and the second design principle, is to avoid as much waste as possible. So currently, for instance, we do not use any lead anymore in our servers. So all toxic materials are completely gone from our servers. So now let's go back to how we cool our data centers. You see here on the right top side that a look inside our data centers. You see here already some server racks being built up. Later on, the whole aisle here will be filled with servers. And if we take a closer look here, you see that green door. So that's the principle of all our data center designs, that we have the servers back to back with those aisles where the warm air of the servers is blown into the room, into the server. So this is into the aisle. So this is the concept. So here you see inside of such a aisle behind the green door where the hot air is blown into the aisle, transported to the top of the building. On top of the building, you have appliances like here where we cool the air. But we do not cool it with traditional compression expansion cooling. We just cool it using the colder outside air. So if you see here the flaps on that appliance, those horizontal flaps, that's where the hot air from the servers gets cooled by the cold air outside of the building. And then what happens next? This cooled air gets blown back into the aisle, and the servers get these cooled down air to get cooled themselves. So that's how we cool our data centers, and we are able to use this technology without any additional energy needed, just changing, continuously cooling down the air up to 29 degrees outside temperature. So only when the temperature goes above 30 degrees, we then use an additional technology using water, swamp cooling, as that is called, using water with water steam to reduce the temperature of the servers. When we look a little bit further, what other innovations do we have in our data centers? If you look here, you see that all the cables, all the data cables, electricity, energy cables are no longer under the servers like in other data centers. So there is no double layer floor anymore. We have just one floor of concrete, which makes the data center much more faster and easier to build, and also more stable without having any micro vibrations. So that enables us to have all the cables on top of the servers, much more efficient, much more easy, and much more simple. And this is the big thing, you know, simplicity is really how we operate our data centers. Another innovation that we started implementing, partly forced by the pandemic, is our remote auditing of our data centers. So you might know that we offer over 100 compliance certifications for our Azure data centers. So all the ISO 27001, 017, 018, and so on, SOC certifications, and a couple of those certifications also need on-site auditing. But how can you on-site audit a data center if during a pandemic lockdown, no airplanes are flying and people cannot travel? That's how we introduced remote auditing, where our data center technicians, with the use of HoloLens devices, are guided by the remote auditor to execute the required checks for the audit compliance certification. By that standard, or by that method, we are now able to save more than 30,000 on-site hours, that would require people flying around in airplanes around the world. That is gone. We save that. That's also in terms of savings, but also in terms of travel impact that could be reduced here. There are many more other things, like, for example, those hardened hardware stations that are purely designed to execute specific tasks, so to have additional layers of security. But for the time saving, this leads a little bit too far for today. Later on, I invite you to some of our virtual data center tours, where we can go much more in details of those specifics. Now, one important thing of a cloud data center, of course, is that it has to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this is why we design also our data centers to be the most up and running data centers in the world. And we use several layers of additional energy provisioning in order to protect us against energy network failures. For example, one thing is that for every megawatt of data center capacity, we have 1 megawatt of battery on site. So theoretically, we can run all our data centers 45 minutes only with batteries. So without any additional, like what we see then on the next picture, our generators, that we still have to rely on generators in the extreme case that you have network outages for more than 45 minutes or so. However, we are continuously researching and innovating and trying to make those generators even more efficient as well. However, they do not run very often, to be honest. In areas like Europe, where you have a very stable network grid, those generators are more or less tested only once a month or a quarter, and that's it. So we don't really need them very often in the European area. We operate them with biofuel mixes, and by 2030 we will be completely diesel-free in all our data centers using new technologies. New technologies like, for example, hydrogen cells that we are currently experimenting and looking forward to be able to use them in a productive environment very soon. Now, let's turn a little bit closer to what is coming to Austria. Another factor how we make our cloud so reliable and being able to offer SLAs of 9.5s and above sometimes is to have always a redundant regional design. So when we go into a cloud region, we are not operating one data center alone. We always, and that will also be the case for Austria, operating 3 independent locations, data center location that are able to support or to replicate each other. So even in the unlikely event that the whole data center goes down, there are still 2 other data centers to do the operation. Operation is a very good point. One big factor how we keep our data centers up and running is a global standardized way how we operate our data centers, how we also use AI to analyze what is going on in our data centers and even in the internet on a global basis. And that allows us to react very soon on any threats and any events out there. So let's have a look.
The Microsoft Cloud runs in data centers which must be operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year, every year. This requires continuous monitoring of the data center's critical infrastructure, including power, cooling, network, cybersecurity, and more. It's all overseen by a Facility Operations Center. The Facility Operations Center checks hundreds of thousands of data points per day, each measuring the data center's operational metrics. Highly trained technicians inspect automated trends, resolving any issues as they arise. And beyond the data centers themselves, Azure AI uses machine learning to review those same data points. AI Ops is moving from reactive to predictive monitoring, so it can better prevent future issues. We also have teams of software engineers around the globe always monitoring our services, and thousands of cybersecurity experts analyzing trillions of threat signals daily. It's important to have constant availability and resiliency for our global infrastructure and cloud services. We continue to invest in and innovate on ever more precise monitoring and a more predictive approach to always be prepared for whatever's next.
Yeah, as I said, a lot of innovation, not only for our customers, but also how we operate our data centers ourselves. So that's now all the basis for our cloud region, Austria East, that we are very soon to open in Austria with the latest design standards of our data centers. Remember the Generation 7, Generation 8 designs that we have talked before. In the greater area of Vienna, we will have at least or already at start 3 independent locations to have a real operational cloud region available, offering all our cloud services, our cloud offerings, Azure, M365, Dynamics, Power Platform. All that will be available with local data storage and processing out of critical infrastructure in Austria. We will have, as I said, 3 availability zones being able to offer a 99.99% availability SLA for virtual machines. And due to the fact that this infrastructure will be so close to you, you will be able to connect with ultra low latency that will enable new possibilities, how you design your applications, how you design your architecture, almost as if the servers would be standing into your in your basement. Of course, we will also offer all common compliance certifications. I said before, all the ISO certifications, but also the SOC certifications, GDPR, STAR certifications. All these will be available in the Austrian cloud region. And finally, and we are very proud of that the Austrian Microsoft data centers will be powered 100%, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with renewable energy from Austria. So not relying on any foreign energy. Everything will be powered by Austrian renewable energy. So let's have a look at some pictures, some real pictures from one of our data center sites in Austria. So these pictures are already a few weeks old, but here you see what I said before, the design of the rapid deployment generation. You see the colors already being built out. And very soon, when we open the data center region, it will look similar to that. So maybe not fully exactly with the same colors or so, but this is a kind of a mock-up. But this is what the Austrian data center will look like. You see already some of the facility details. You see the water tanks for our water cooling system. You see here the 4 colors. Also here. So that's already being built up. We are very soon to starting the installation of our hardware and software inside the data center. If you remember the pictures I've shown before, it will look exactly like that. We will have all those cold aisles, hot aisle design principles, and we will be able to operate our data centers at a PUE, power usage efficiency coefficient value. That's the coefficient between how much energy is pulled into the facility divided by how much energy lands at the hardware of 1.12, which will be the most efficient data centers that you find currently in the world. All that very soon, and I'm looking forward to be able to tell you more about our launch timeline, hopefully already later in summer, fall this year. So to go a little bit into more technical details, as we are here on the global Azure, what services will we have available in the beginning in our cloud region? So many of you might be familiar with our different cloud or Azure service types, that our services are classified between global services. So these are services that you really need to have to operate your cloud, like Azure Active Directory, the resource managers, and so on. And the regional services, the services that we deploy on a need-to-have basis into our regions. And these regional services are classified as foundational, mainstream, and strategic services. Foundational services are the services that are really the bread and butter services, like the virtual machines, the networking, and so on. And the mainstream services also very new services that we have already been able to bring into a standard operation, into a mainstream chain and mainstream roadmap. And then we have the strategic services. Now, these strategic services are services that are either very new or require additional investment from partners, for instance, if you think of VMware services or things like that. So with those, it is a little bit more complicated. And for those strategic services, we need to work with the corporation to identify what is exactly needed. So here comes now the call to action also towards you. I have provided here the link where you see all the details. So let me briefly switch over to that MS Learn page. So here you get all the details about those services. And if you scroll down, you see here all the list of services. What are currently, this list is sometimes being updated. What services are foundational? What services are mainstream? And now here with those strategic services, it gets interesting. So when you require such services, when your company requires such services, please connect with us, connect with your Microsoft contact, or connect with your partner to work and to get into conversation with us, so that we can make sure that, for example, some of those special machines or some of those services can be made available for the cloud region Austria. So that's the call to action I want to spread out today. So coming to the end slowly of our keynote, because I think by now you are really looking forward to get to the next sessions in Global Asia, to connect with people in the gather down. Let's have a brief outlook how we are continuously innovating and researching to bring new technologies to our data centers. We are not stopping where we are. We are innovating and researching on things like completely liquid-cooled servers, where we put all the silicon into a special liquid to be able to cool it even more efficient. And with that, we already have results of being up to 15% even more efficient. We can extend lifetime of the silicons with that, because they are completely covered by the liquid, and the corrosion is much less than if you operate the servers in standard air. And it is also possible to overclock such servers much higher than traditionally. But not only in compute, also in the storage, the way we store data, we are continuously innovating. You might have heard of Project Silica, where we store data with special laser technology in simple glass plates. And these glass plates, at the size of one DVD, are able to store up to 7 terabytes of data, completely without any energy. Once the data is burned into the glass, you don't need any energy to keep the storage there. And you are able to achieve more than 1,000 years of lifetime. So this is what I could really call cold storage and long-time storage. We are also developing in the area of networking. Project Sirius, for instance, we are currently developing optical network switches to be able, at one point of time in future, to have all end-to-end data transfer in networks being completely done with light, and not having the need to continuously change between photons and electrons and back. So this is what we are trying to achieve with this optical network switches. And also, you might have heard of DNA storage, where we are using storage in molecular level technology, where it will be able, once this is operational, to store 1 exabyte in a cubic millimeter of data storage. And this will be even more durable and being able to store such an amount of data. Currently, this is still in early stage. If you look at pictures, how this storage technology looks like at the moment, it is not yet very effective. You still need huge setups of machines, but as time is progressing, we will be able to offer here very soon, I'm pretty convinced, new ways of storing. You might have heard of quantum computing. Even that is already reality. We are offering quantum computing in our data centers already, and you can also try it yourself. You will even get $500 of credit. So if you want to start your first applications using this technology, and I invite every one of you to try it out, go to the link, sign up for the program, and start developing your quantum application. Now, if you are now getting interested, and if I have gotten your attention on these topics, let me invite you to our next Cloud Experience Day. There we will present even more details. This is a quarterly series of events. The next time on the May 31st, we will focus a little bit on what use cases, what can be done with a local cloud region. And we will have very great guests. So go to the event site. Here's the link. Here's the QR code. Sign up. Mark your calendars. And we will, and I'm sure you will get a lot of great information. You can also explore our data centers yourself. So we have built up a great website, a virtual data center tour, where you can browse and walk yourself through our data centers with much more information that I was able to share today. And with that, I'm handing back over to the team. I wish you all a great Global Asia 2023. And yeah, I will be for Q&A on our Microsoft booth, and hope to see you all soon at the Microsoft booth for a short Q&A. Thanks a lot, and have a great Global Asia. Bye-bye.